Hello, I'm Jake. Tonight, we slow our pace and step back in time to a world where survival was never taken for granted. Imagine the soft glow of a hearth, the smell of wood smoke drifting through a low cottage roof, the hush of fields under moonlight. Let us drift into another era and listen to ways of life long forgotten, techniques once vital, now overlooked by modern preppers. As darkness spreads across the land, let us begin with the first breath of morning in the medieval village. The cold wind slips through thatched roofs. The ground is firm with dew. You wake on a simple straw mattress, layered with coarse blankets. There is no thick comforter, no pillow of feathers, just what the land gives. You rise slowly, legs unused to ease. The chill nudges your skin. Everywhere, silence speaks. The crows far off, the faint murmur of livestock. Water must be fetched. A slow walk to the well or stream. Buckets swung on ropes, muscles straining but practiced by years. You cup your hands, taste cool liquid. It's clear, but never safe. You must boil it over the hearth fire, using clay pots and trimmed wood. Smoke curls upward, dancing in dim light. The flicker of flame softens your vision. That simple act, boil, wait, cool, is one of the first survival skills. Ignore it, and illness finds you quickly. Food is scarce. The fields around the village lie in patchwork. Small plots of grains, root vegetables, herbs. Animals graze. You tend these fields, planting by moonlight, watering from buckets, pulling weeds with bare hands. You understand soil, rotation, manure, compost. You reuse everything. Peels, stalks, husks become feed or fertilizer. Waste is taboo. You save every scrap, pour compost around young shoots. You guard seeds carefully, so next spring you can plant again. That memory moves with you. Preservation is a silent art. Meat dries over smoke, fish hung on racks, fruits dried in sun, salted in brine. You keep jars of pickles in cool cellars. These stores stand between feast and famine. In hot months you watch closely. Molds creep, jars crack, pests invade. The cellar must be cool, dry, dark. A buried nook under stone or earth. You inspect daily, discard spoiled bits, rotate stock. One mistake, and all is ruined. A faint sound, the smith's hammer echoes from a workshop. Iron is precious. You repair, sharpen, reuse metal. Blades are resharpened, hoes reforged, nails straightened. That skill of working metal is a survival art. Without new purchases, you must make do. Tools are precious. You treat them as extensions of your body. Clothing is humble, but layered. Wool, linen, leather. You patch, you mend, you reinforce. You spin thread, you weave cloth. Every tear is sewn by hand. In harsh seasons, you layer furs. When rain comes, you fashioned capes or cloaks that drip but don't soak. Garments are not fashion. They are armor. To ignore that is to shiver, to suffer. Next, shelter. Your home is built of wood, wattle and daub, stone if lucky. Roof, thatch, perhaps slate. You dig foundations, raise walls, pack earthen floors. You know how to seal gaps with mud or straw. You elevate your sleeping area slightly, a platform or wooden planks, to keep damp earth away. In storms, wind rattles, roof leaks. You carry spare thatch bundles. You fill cracks slowly, night by night. You repair as you go. You do not wait for ruin. In winter, you store fuel. You fell trees in autumn, split logs, stack wood under lean-tos, dry them through wind. You conserve, burning only small fires, using embers overnight. You slow the burn, stoke the coals. You reuse ash for fertilizer or cleaning. You guard against sparks. A stray ember can burn your home. Fire is friend, but also risk. Now, imagine night falling again. You light a small oil lamp, candle, flicker weak in darkness. You close shutters, draw in animals, share the room with chickens, goat, small livestock. Their warmth helps. In summer nights, you leave windows open, but hang nets to deter insects. You keep smoke low, the flame steady, the vigil quiet. Disease stalks in hidden corners. You know herbs, poultices, basic hygiene. You scrub utensils with sand. You draw water away from dwellings. You bandage wounds with clean linen, steep herbs to reduce infection, boil herbs in broths. Illness can spread in hours. The knowledge of plants, yarrow, garlic, willow bark, is survival knowledge. You pass it down quietly in whispers. Modern preppers often ignore it, depending wholly on pills. You did not have that luxury. You also understand defensive skills. Walls built low, thorn hedges, simple traps, earthen ditches. Offensive stakes, sharpened branches. A hidden pit covered by brush. Patrols at night. You walked alert paths, listened for rustling, moved quietly when needed. You stored weapons, axes, spears, simple bows. You practiced with them. The threat of bandits or wild beasts was real. The techniques of defense were part of daily thought. Community is essential. You share labor. Neighbors help haul timber, repair roofs, harvest fields. You trade goods. What you cannot produce means barter. A neighbor may trade herbs for cheese, cloth for wood. Isolation is fatal. You keep relationships. You repay kindness. You warn of danger. In winter, you shelter travelers for food. Knowledge passes. You build trust. Betrayal is ruin. As the moon rises high, you slow your movements. The hearth dims. You enter rest. You tend the embers before sleep. Cover them gently. Wake early before dawn to stoke fire again. You observe the stars, the wind, the bird calls at edge of night. These signs guide planting, hunting, rest. In this first breath of time, you feel rooted, the earth under feet, the sky above, the hush of night in ears. You sense how every little action, store seed, mend cloth, carry water, stoke fire, guard walls, wove survival into life. These skills, forgotten now, carried people through centuries. As the quiet night deepens, we leave the smoky warmth of the blacksmith's forge behind. The village is silent now, except for the soft creak of wooden carts and the faint hum of water flowing nearby. Imagine walking beside me, through the narrow dirt path leading down to the river. The air is cool, carrying a scent of pine and smoke. Fireflies float lazily above the reeds. The bridge is made of old timbers, worn smooth by years of footsteps and rain. Jake's calm voice continues, gentle as the breeze. In those forgotten times, rivers were not just water. They were lifelines. People drank from them, washed, fished, and sometimes prayed beside them. A family passes quietly, carrying buckets. Their lantern sways, reflecting on the ripples below. Every drop that falls back into the river sounds like a whisper from the past. And as the moonlight touches the surface, the entire world seems to slow down. You can almost hear the voices of those who once crossed here. Farmers, travelers, lovers saying goodbye before a long journey. As we walk across, the wooden planks creak gently under our feet. Jake pauses, survival. He murmurs softly, was not about strength alone. It was about rhythm, moving with the land, not against it. The river hums its endless song, and for a moment, time stands still. Then, softly, we move on toward the dim lights beyond the hill. The air grows warmer again as we step into the castle's kitchen. Stone walls hold in the scent of smoke and herbs. A single fire crackles in the large hearth, and shadows dance on the walls. The cooks are gone now, their day long over. But the room still breathes, the pots glisten, the knives rest, the bread lies cooling on a wooden board. Jake's voice echoes softly through the empty space. In medieval times, the kitchen was the heart of survival, not just for the rich, but for everyone who depended on warmth and food. Imagine the clatter of ladles, the hiss of boiling broth, the smell of garlic and wild onions. The cook's hands were weathered, but steady, measuring, stirring, tasting. There were no recipes written on paper. Everything lived inside memory. Jake lowers his tone. Sometimes they preserved food for months, drying meat, salting fish, smoking cheese, because a single mistake could mean hunger. The winter didn't forgive. The fire pops softly, and the glow touches the old flagstones. You can almost see the ghosts of those who once moved here, laughing, whispering, tired but alive. Outside, wind hums through the cracks, but inside, the fire burns steady. Jake smiles faintly in the dim light. It's strange, he says, for all our modern machines, we've forgotten the comfort of a slow fire and a steady hand. As night settles over the hills, the sound of laughter drifts in from the square. The villagers have gathered for a feast. The air smells of roasted grain, honeyed ale, and smoke from torches. The stars above look brighter tonight, maybe because there's joy in the air. Jake's voice softens into a rhythm, gentle, almost like a lullaby. When people worked this hard to survive, every moment of celebration felt sacred. Lanterns swing from wooden posts, throwing warm circles of light on faces both young and old. Music hums from a simple flute, and someone beats a drum softly, in time with the clapping. Children chase each other near the tables, while elders tell stories of the old wars and forgotten kings. There's no grand wealth here, no silk robes or silver plates, but there's peace, a kind that comes only when people have endured together. Jake looks over the crowd with a slow smile in his voice. Even then, they knew something we've lost, he says quietly. That comfort doesn't come from what we own. It comes from what we share. The camera of imagination lingers on the scene, lanterns glowing like tiny suns, laughter fading slowly into the hum of night. The air grows colder as we leave the village behind. The laughter of the feast fades, replaced by the whisper of the forest. Trees stand tall like watchful giants, their branches heavy with mist. The path beneath our feet is soft, covered in pine needles and fallen leaves. Jake's voice lowers, gentle and steady. "Out here," he says, "some people chose silence over the noise of life." A faint glow appears between the trees. A small hut made of logs and moss. Smoke curls from a stone chimney, and a faint light flickers through a narrow window. This is the home of a hermit. Jake pauses. In the old world, not everyone lived in towns or castles. Some found peace in solitude. They hunted, gathered herbs, listened to the seasons, and spoke only when the forest spoke back. The air grows colder as we leave the village behind. The laughter of the feast fades, replaced by the whisper of the forest. Trees stand tall like watchful giants, their branches heavy with mist. The path beneath our feet is soft, covered in pine needles and fallen leaves. Jake's voice lowers, gentle and steady. "Out here," he says, "some people chose silence over the noise of life." A faint glow appears between the trees, the small hut made of logs and moss. Smoke curls from a stone chimney, and a faint light flickers through a narrow window. This is the home of a hermit. Jake pauses. In the old world, not everyone lived in towns or castles. Some found peace in solitude. They hunted, gathered herbs, listened to the seasons, and spoke only when the forest spoke back. The forest feels endless. Shadows stretch and sway. Jake's voice becomes softer still. When the world grew loud with war and greed, people like him kept the old knowledge alive. The herbs that healed, the prayers that calmed storms, the ways to light fire from damp wood. He takes a slow breath. He may have been forgotten by history, but not by the earth that fed him. The forest thins out, and the path opens to an empty field. Ahead, broken stones rise from the grass. An ancient abbey, long abandoned. The walls are covered in moss, the windows hollow. Wind whistles softly through what's left of the arches. Jake steps closer, his voice a low echo. This was once a place of learning. Monks lived here, writing, healing, keeping knowledge safe while the world outside burned. The moonlight filters through the cracks, painting the ruins in silver. Even when the kingdoms fell, Jake continues, somewhere in a place like this, someone was still copying words by candlelight, words that would survive centuries. He walks slowly through the broken hall, where the ground is scattered with fallen stones. These walls have seen famine and plague, he says quietly, but they also saw compassion, prayer, and patience. They remind us that survival is not only in the body, but in the spirit. A faint whisper of wind drifts through the ruins, and the sound is almost. Night softens into dawn. A thin line of gold appears on the horizon, spreading slowly across the fields. The earth glows with morning dew, and the air smells of wet grass and smoke from distant fires. Jake's voice is calm now, like a gentle breeze. The world wakes again. The old ways fade, but they never truly die. Every seed planted, every fire lit, every lesson whispered, it all still lives in us. Imagine walking beside him through the open fields. The sun warms your face, and the mist rises in silver ribbons. The birds begin to sing, soft and steady. For centuries, Jake says, people lived with the land, not above it. They built, broke, rebuilt, and remembered. Even when they had nothing, they shared. Even when they were afraid, they kept moving. He smiles faintly, watching the light spread across the horizon. And maybe that's the real secret of survival. Not tools or weapons, but patience, trust, and the quiet strength to begin again every morning. The sun rises higher, and the last traces of night disappear. Jake's voice slows, almost to a whisper. The world is different now, but if you listen closely, the past still breathes beneath our feet. Every step we take is a memory, waiting to be remembered. The fields stretch endlessly ahead. The sky turns pale blue. Jake looks back one last time toward the forest, the river, the ruins, and the sleeping village. They may be gone, he says softly, but their ways still live in every small act of care, in the bread we bake, the fire we light, the hand we hold. He takes a deep breath, his voice warm and peaceful. So tonight, as you rest, remember them, the forgotten ones, the quiet survivors, the people who built a world out of nothing but hope and patience. The wind moves through the tall grass, and the sound is almost like a sigh. Jake's final words drift into stillness. "Good night, traveler," he says. "Sleep well, and may the old world keep you safe until the morning light."